هاي كلنا هون ما عليك بس انت بلش كوريا.
The thing with the programming courses is that they are very difficult to teach actually.
صح.
This semester has been very difficult.
Very difficult.
Maybe next semester is going to be a real project so that we don't need to have midterm or final exam. Because programming is supposed to be like a project. Individual.
بس البروجكتات ما في لها midterm ولا final.
No, next year. So let's talk about OOP2. In OOP2 we have the following chapters.
روح طالع يا معلم.
In OOP2 we have chapters about I think pointers. Okay. We have
تكتب 100 مرة طويش. شو؟
and we also have inheritance.
بإيدك ثابتة ولا راح بالله عليك خليها.
And then we have polymorphism.
صور معك بالله عليك. لا هسه إذا تعبت بعطيك. دائما إني مكبر وحاطه على الشاشتين.
I think we have one
حتى
and two
الشاشة
lights.
الصغيرة موجودة وواضحة.
So what is not coming out here? Okay. What is not coming out in polymorphism is this. Yes. Yeah, we have no question about object slicing, okay? That is what is not coming out, not what is coming out, okay? So shall we begin? Shall we begin? So what is your pointer? What is your pointer? Can you please assist? What is your pointer? Address. A pointer is, if I say a pointer is just a variable, is that correct or wrong?
Wrong.
Correct?
Wrong.
A variable that stores the address of another variable. Actually, there could be many definitions. A variable that can be dereferenced. Okay? For example, if we said, okay, it's already here. In what variable can a pointer be used? In what, any variable? No. What if the question says in what variable a pointer cannot be used?
Structure.
I even think that we have a question like that.
Structure.
Any variable that we do not intend to dereference it, we cannot use a pointer. As for the variables that you can use a pointer, they include all the primitive variables: integer, character, string, double, float. It also includes functions. Yeah. It also includes arrays. Okay?
Okay.
Huh? Yes, you can use pointers in all of this. Okay. Yes. So let's some advantages of using a pointer.
Structure.
Dynamic memory allocation.
No.
Like in Java, I think we don't have that here.
قول structure.
Huh?
قول يس أنا بجاوب كل structure.
Okay, it can point to multiple functions. Okay?
لا مش
Remember when you have when you create a pointer of a class that can point to all the functions of the child class.
شو الفانكشن؟ نزل سيدة سريع.
What does the asterisk operator do? When used with pointers in C++. Maybe we should come to the pointer and have something here. Let's say I have this integer
asterisk.
PTR, right?
No. Okay.
Is that valid?
الاسterisk
Is that valid?
لا غلط. غلط.
No, not valid. It has to point to what?
هذا لك ماذا؟
It has to point to an address. That means that I must have integer, let's say x, to be equal to maybe 4. Then it is possible for me now to have integer pointer, which will be what? Actually, I have never drawn that thing. So whatever, you should know. Okay, I will use that. Okay?
أيوة.
It has never occurred to me that I have to draw that particular thing. That is the address. Ampersand. The name is ampersand. Okay, but I don't know how to draw an ampersand. That looks like an 8 or something like that. What? Like this? Then like this?
لا strong.
Okay, you get it.
Okay,
you get it. So the question here, the question that we are trying to solve, what does the asterisk operator do when used with pointers in C++? So if I have this, what will be the value? What will be the value? So the asterisk return the value that the pointer is pointing to. Okay? The asterisk will return the value that what? The pointer that is pointing to. So we will say that output will be what? 4. How about if I have this? PTR. What is the output? Output will be address.
Address.
Okay? Maybe an example. X, O, F, 2, 3, whatever. Okay? So the asterisk returns what? It returns the value that is being pointed to. And what do we call the procedure? What do we call that? This is what you call dereferencing. This is what you call dereferencing. Of course, it is referencing the address, but you dereference it by getting back the value. Next, what is the correct way to declare a pointer to an integer in C++? I believe we have done that. This is the correct way of declaring a pointer to an integer. When you have an integer x. Okay? Okay. Then what else? What does null pointer keyword represent in C++? What does it represent? It represents a null pointer. That is, it is not pointing to any address. Okay? It's not pointing to any valid address. Okay? It's null. Okay? What happens when you attempt to dereference a null pointer in C++? So, when you have a null pointer and you try to print it out, that is, for example, when you have integer, let's say ptr is equal to null ptr, null pointer. Okay? What happens when you want to have this? C out asterisk ptr. What would happen? This will give you 4, correct? What will this give you? The compiler is going to give you an error. Okay, you cannot dereference a null pointer. It is going to give you an error. These 2 points are not in the knot. So I'm not sure where you are going to read them, but they are not in the knot, but they are in the final exam. As simple as that. Okay? This one is pointer that is not pointing to a valid address. It's a null pointer, it's pointing to nothing. Whenever you attempt to what? Dereference it is going to give you an error. Okay? So when you see the code and you see that there is a null pointer and the output is going to be what? Error. Because you have so many code snippets to answer all of these questions. Explain the basic concept of pointer to array. What is the basic concept of pointer to array? A pointer to array is pointing to the element at index 0. Okay? It is pointing to the element at index what? 0. So now, what is the value output of this? So when you have this, you have a pointer that is equal to array, and then you have this. Let's write it down. How should we remember that? We have array, integer array, 10, 20, 30, right? So we have integer array 3 is equal to 10, 20, 30. So this is 10, 20, and 30. So we have this array, okay? And next, we are looking for the output of this. So we have integer ptr is equal to array, okay? So we have integer, this is a pointer, right? Is equal to what?
Array.
Do you notice that we don't use the address, right, with arrays? Okay, you need to remember that.
Sugar.
Then what else? So the question is, what is the value of this and this? Okay? So this is the question. The question is it ptr plus plus?
VTR minus.
And then ptr minus minus. Let's check again. So we have three questions. One, what is the output of this? And then what is the output of this? And what is the output of that? Okay? So we are going to have this C out, okay? PTR, and then we are also going to have C out, PTR plus plus, and then we are also going to have C out, PTR minus minus. So now, what is the output? As we said, is that pointer to array is pointing to the element at index 0, the first one, which is what? 10. So automatically this is going to be pointing to 10. So we have 10 as the output. Okay? And when you see out plus, and why do we get 10? The asterisk, right? See out PTR plus plus, that is what? That is going to be the second one. So this is going to be what? 20. And this one is PTR minus minus. That will be back to what? 10. So this is going to be 10. So we have these queries, yes, these codes asking you the output of the pointer. Yes. Huh? What should be 10, not 20? This one? Okay, you mean the plus plus should be here for it to be 20. It means the next one. Okay, this first pre-increment, I'm confused with them, but plus plus means the next one. Minus minus means the one before it. Do you see any loop here?
No,
Do you
it's
see
not.
any loop?
No.
But what?
عشان هيك ما بصير انك تسوي يجي ترتيب. غلط.
Okay.
غلط. غلط.
Okay, what I know is if this is 1, I want to add the next one plus plus, the next one plus plus.
Yes.
And then minus will come back.
Yes. طيب. هذيك باللوب يا آدم.
You can try it. If you have a computer, try it please. Because I don't agree with you, so you have to try it.
حلو بشرح
Let's
غلط.
go to the next question before you try it.
إيه يعني بشرح غلط؟
What
بدي
else?
نفسه.
What else?
عاوز أقول.
So what is inheritance in C++? You know inheritance already. One class inheriting from the other, a mechanism where one class inherit the properties of the other class. There are many definitions. So
Yep.
you should understand and know the definition of inheritance, and then list the 5 types of inheritance in C++. You can use your phone, it's even faster because you will be busy. What are the 5 types of inheritance that we have? Single, multi-level, multiple, hierarchical, and hybrid. These are the 5 inheritance that we have. List and explain the 3 types of mode of inheritance. So we should know that types of inheritance is different from mode of inheritance. Okay? So what are the 3 mode of inheritance that we have? We have private, public, and protected. Are you guys taking notes? You already know this, right?
Sure.
So we are done with which question is that? 4. Question 5. Using both diagram and code. So we are going to have diagrams. Remember, in software construction, you have to focus on the diagrams of what? The types of the drivers, right? So this one also, you have to focus on the diagrams of the inheritance, okay? So using both diagram and code snippet. And code snippet, show each type of inheritance in 4 above. The inheritance in 4 above, that is single, multi-level, multiple, and the rest. Okay? So let's do that. So should we use the diagram first? Let's start with the single.
Yes.
When you have a class A and it has a child B, so we only have this class A, okay? And then we have class B, which is, so if you just have that, what do you have? Private, okay? So I would always recommend that you use what? The public inheritance, A. So that's it. This is single inheritance, okay? Then next, next is multi-level. Okay,
Yes.
let me just write this somewhere. This is single. And then for the multi-level, you have A, then you have B, then you have C. Okay? You have A, B, and C. So we will have class A, and then we will have class B, which is a child of A. Then we will have class C, which is a child of what? B.
جواته الايه شو هو الاوتبوت يا غير
Okay, I'm afraid that in the exam, it's not going to be empty classes. There are classes with codes, and the question comes from the codes. You read the codes and you tell us what type of inheritance is it. Okay? That is one. And then another thing is, what is the output? Okay? But this is just the basic idea of what is happening. I hope you get it. Next. Which one is next? Multiple. Multiple means many parents? More than one, right? That is multiple. So you have A, and then you have B. Then below them you have C. Okay? This is
تطلع معك هاي الشاشة
multiple,
البيضاء.
multiple inheritance. Okay? So the code will be class A, which is just like that, and then class B, which is also just like that. Then you have what? Class C. Then you have, let's say, public A, then what? Comma, public B. Okay? That is multiple inheritance. You just need to study the code and see which one is inheriting from which one to determine which type of inheritance it is. Okay? This is just the basic idea. Then which one is the next one? What happened in hierarchy? It's just like grandparent with two other parents. So in hierarchy, hierarchical inheritance, this is what we have. A. A happens to be the parent of B and what? And C. And then C and B all together are the parent of D. What other keyword do we need in this? The virtual keyword. I have two questions regarding the virtual keyword. What I want you to remember is that I am asking the question in inheritance or in polymorphism. Because this is the trick. In inheritance, you can have public virtual or virtual public. Okay? In polymorphism, you cannot do that. You must have the virtual keyword in the beginning. Do you get this point? Do you get this point? This is precisely why in my questions I said in terms of inheritance and in terms of polymorphism. Do you get this point? Okay. In terms of inheritance and in terms of polymorphism, we need to be careful about that. So this one is going to be class A, which has that, and then class B, right? So this is the case. You can have that virtual
or public.
Whenever you have two in the middle that have a child and are inheriting from the same one, they must have the virtual. What is the purpose of the virtual in inheritance? To make sure that only one copy from A to D is transmitted. Okay? So class B virtual, public A, right? And then class C. So in inheritance, you can either have virtual public or public virtual. Okay, that will be A as well. Then you can have class D, which is public B, and then public C.
So it becomes hybrid.
Yeah, it can be a hybrid as well. Yeah, it can be a hybrid because B, C, D will give you another one, and then
ما بصير.
Can you explain the hybrid again for me? How many hybrids do you see from here?
خليها بس public.
This is spherical itself.
اسأله خلنا
Is it?
نستفيد
It has to be
منه.
either multi-level or
اسأله بالله عليك.
multiple or single. Do you see any? No.
رد عيد السؤال خلني أنا أسأله. مشكلة إنجليزيات عقدي هو بحكي.
B, C, D could be multiple. Yeah, but because they have one common, that is why it's not multiple. It's not hybrid. It's hierarchical itself. Once you touch this diagram, then you are moving to hybrid. That is how it works. Okay, let's go to the last one. Okay, the last one is hybrid, a combination of any of the two. Okay, that is hybrid. No need to discuss it. Then what else? I think we have already answered this. Explain the concept of virtual base class in relation to inheritance in C++. So the concept is this. Whenever you have two classes that have common child and common parent, then these two classes should have the virtual keyword. And it can come before the mode of inheritance. And what is the mode of inheritance? Public, private, protected. Take note again. Inheritance can only be private or public or protected. It cannot be two at the same time. Okay? Also very important part of another question. Okay. So explicitly mention the scenario that requires us to use. I have mentioned that. The scenario that requires us to use the virtual keyword. When you have two classes that have common child and common ancestor. So then what else? Yeah, this is the last question. What is the difference between the arrow operator and the dot operator in C++? What is the difference? Dot for the object. Arrow is also for the class. In fact, arrow is the one that is using this pointer. So it's the one that is even really for the class. So the major difference between the arrow operator and the dot operator is this. The arrow operator is using pointer to access the members of the class, while the dot operator is accessing the members of the class directly. Do you get the point? This is using a pointer, and the dot is using what? Direct access. Okay? Are you tired already, Jana? Are you tired? Okay? Some of you look tired already. What is that? Show an example of writing the arrow operator using a combination of the asterisk and the dot operator. So this is one thing to notice. You can use the arrow like this. Or you can use a combination of the asterisk and the dots. So let's get an example for these two. Who can give us an example of the arrow? Is this a valid example? Function? Is it a valid example? Okay, if it is a valid example, how do we write it using the asterisk and the dots? The thing is that the asterisk has to be in the bracket and the dot has to be outside. Why? Because the dot has a higher precedence, but you need to resolve the asterisk first. So how should we write this? Asterisk A in bracket dot F. I think there are 2-3 questions regarding arrow and asterisk as well. Okay? Actually, I have to stop and reduce some of the questions.
Yes.
Because it happens to me last semester, I gave around 65, I think, or 70 questions in database. So, asterisk, this is how you represent it. It means that this one and this one, they are all the same. Okay? They are all the same. But the thing is, you must use the bracket. Okay? So that is an example. Then explain the rules regarding pointers from base class to derived class object. That is 1. 2. Derived class to base class object. Show an example. So what are the rules? When I have class base and I have class derived. Derived is the child of base. So this is the question. What are the rules regarding their pointers? These are the rules. A pointer of a base class can point to the object of a derived class. This is one. Then a pointer of a derived class cannot point to the object of a base class. Again, a pointer of a derived class can point to the object of a base class using explicit casting. Okay? So show an example. So this is an example. If I have this, okay, I have a base class, which is what? A pointer of the base class, PTR for example. And then I have derived class, okay? Let me just do it called dptr. Then I also have base class, let's say base object, and then derived, let's say derived object. The rules are right here. How many pointers do we have? 2 pointers, right? Pointer of a base class, PTR, and then dptr, pointer of the derived class. Then object of the base class, BOBJ, and object of the derived class, DOBJ. So these are the rules. If I delete this, you get it, right? Rules, the one that are good, accepted, is that a pointer of a base class, which is what? PTR, okay? It can point to what? Object of the derived class. This is what? D, derived class objects. Okay, this is acceptable. Okay? Then what is not acceptable is that D, pointer of a derived class, PTR, to point to the pointer of the base object, this is not allowed. A base class pointer can point to the object of the derived class, but pointer of a derived class cannot point to the object of the base class. But if you want it to work, what do we use? And how do we do that? You open bracket, you use the asterisk, whatever. Okay, I cannot remember the asterisk. Is it before or after? It's after, right?
Before.
So somebody needs to check it's after. Because I have options with before and after.
Before.
So do not do that. Is it before or after?
Before.
Before.
Right.
So it was correct like this. Okay, you have to remember that. So you have, this is the casting. That is the whole point. It is the casting, okay, that will allow you to point to the base class object. Okay? Then what else? I think that's all. This is also acceptable. Okay? You have to remember the asterisk. It's before or after. It's up to you to remember. Okay? Let's go to the next question. Okay. Briefly explain virtual functions and what are the rules regarding naming and using virtual functions, virtual keyword in virtual functions. This is all about virtual functions. It has nothing to do with the inheritance. I'm going to tell you the rules. You should go and read on your own. First, the virtual keyword must come before the return type. You are not allowed to exchange. You can only use the virtual keyword inside the class. That means that outside the class, you cannot use the virtual keyword. Just like friend function, you use the friend keyword inside the class. Outside the class, you do not use the friend keyword. Then what else? The return type of any function that is overriding the virtual function must be the same. Okay? Then what else? I think there are 2-3 slides about the rules, so you need to remember all of these rules. Okay? I have many questions around the rules. Then briefly explain the concept of pure virtual function and abstract class. So pure virtual functions is any function that has the keyword virtual, return type, function name, but it has no definition. O is equal to 0. Then any class that have at least one of these methods is what? An abstract class. Show a code example. So let's show a code example. Let's quickly show a code example. So when I have class A, and this class has a virtual function, that is when I have virtual, okay, void, let's say put, okay. So when I have this equal to 0, this is a virtual function, and at the same time, when I have another one, virtual void gets. This is also a virtual function, either equal to 0 or this, no definition. Okay? They are all virtual function. It's more like an interface in Java. Any class that inherits this must have these two methods. Okay? Any class that inherits them will have what? The two methods. If it does not have it, it will become abstract. Okay? So this is just a sample of the question. And then what else? So that's it. So we have 35 questions from object-oriented programming. I think we'll have 65 or 70 minutes in between. And most of the questions, they have a lot of codes with asking me for the output, things like that. And also the rules are very important. Virtual function rules and abstract class rule. Object slicing is not coming out. Okay? Any question?
الإجابة اللي تسأل